Hello everyone and welcome to Blog Runner Everything, and welcome back to the channel or to the podcast, whichever one you're listening from. Oh wait, guess it's not listening if it's on YouTube, you're watching, but welcome back. And we're going to take a look today at FC Barcelona's 2-1 win over Real Betis from the Benito Villamarin, where Barcelona just continued their admirable, put it that way, away record where they've won just about every match except the Real Madrid game that they played away from home. They continued and registered their fifth consecutive one-goal difference victory. Victory by a margin of just one goal, okay? Had a bunch of 1-0s and now they did a 2-1. We're just going to talk about that game. This isn't going to be like my usual match reviews though, because I haven't really got the time to do the scripting and all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to, it's going to be a really podcasty feel to this match review, which I guess is a good thing if you're listening from the podcast, because you can just slap this on while you're making your commute to work. And we'll talk somewhat briefly about FC Barcelona's victory over Real Betis, which temporarily puts them 8 points clear of Real Madrid, the top of the table. Of course, Madrid still have to play a game against Valencia on Thursday night, which is, I think, going to be from the Bernabeu. I don't know. I didn't really check, but expect them to win that game either way. But it's good to see the good performance, the continued winning momentum going forward, and of course the fact that we're at the halfway stage of the season, 19 games played, and we've already got 50 points, that's pretty good. If you didn't know, I'm telling you now, it's pretty good. Okay, so briefly, let's look at the way that the team's set up, right? So Real Betis, as they usually do under Mauricio Pellegrini. Is it Mauricio? Manuel Pellegrini, yeah. Under Manuel Pellegrini, they set up with the usual 4-2-3-1 formation. In goal, they had Luis Silva, and the back four, Ribao, Patella, Felipe, and Abner. We of course here had Abner making his debut, because he had never before played a match for Real Betis, because they signed him just during this window, which is see how weak the content can get when I don't script. Anyway, we then had a double pivot of Guido and Carvalho, with a front four of Canales, Fekir, Henrique, and Iglesias. FC Barcelona, on the other hand, you know what it was. It was Xavi's preferred starting 11. We're going to call it that from now on. The back four that we trust and love so much: Kounde, Araujo, Christensen, and Balde, with a midfield three of Frankie de Jong, Busquets, Pedri. Of course, up front we had Raphinha, Lewandowski, and Gavi playing as that hybrid midfielder / winger, doing the thing that he's been doing so well recently. I have to say something like this: the recent editions of FC Barcelona's fixture against Real Betis have actually been quite low scoring, considering there was a period that FC Barcelona versus Real Betis was consistently giving us like 7 goal thrillers, 5-2, 4-3, going either way. Not the 5-2 of course, but there was some very high scoring matches, and kind of got used to that. So it's been, I guess, a nice change of pace to see Barcelona conceding less goals. Yeah, although we are also scoring less goals, which we wish we could improve on that. But the thing about those 7 goal thriller games that we're seeing, where would either see 7 goals being scored or 4 goals being scored, that kind of a swing. The thing about it is that it was fun to watch, and genuinely, I believe for a long stretch, the most entertaining fixture you could watch in La Liga was actually FC Barcelona versus Real Betis. Make of that what you will. And this game, I thought, was more of a return. This iteration was more of a return to those kinds of matches, in that it was actually quite an entertaining match to watch. The first half in particular just breezed past, and it was quite honestly an even matchup, especially in that first half. You were wondering, where would the the big moments that will make the difference come from, especially when you saw Pedri having a chance which he couldn't take for some reason. He just couldn't sort out his feet quickly enough, or he just wanted to go around the goalkeeper, one of the two. But you had that moment where, Pedri's not able to score, and we had some other near chances, so to say. Pedri, of course, as well, when he was caught offside. Then we had Gavi, who was set up by Lewandowski but couldn't hit the target. And there were a lot of moments like that. And going the other way as well, Real Betis did, of course, have some openings which could have led to goals, especially, you would say, against a more accomplished attacking team or more talented attacking players. Would have probably been able to score here for Real Betis in that first half. But either way, anyway, my point is this was a nicely entertaining match. Of course, the end of it was needlessly nerve-wracking because, FC Barcelona did concede a late goal, which came via an own goal by Kounde after just say the one moment where the Barcelona defense just had a lapse of concentration, where everyone just switched off, and a cross that was played into the box by Sabali just hit Kounde and went into the back of the net. That would have been Ter Stegen's 15th clean sheet, by the way. Moving on from that, this was a much better performance, obviously, than we saw in the last game against Girona, and I think that it was a good win. And aside from, once again, the nervy finish to this game, I thought that it was a match that we managed to ultimately control the outcome of. Right, we didn't control the passage of play. Like I said, it was pretty back and forth game, this one, but we managed to control the outcome of the match, which I think is a good positive step here. Lewandowski, of course, returning and scoring on his return is also a very good positive thing. You want to see that. But all in all, I think it was definitely a good performance by Barca here, at least going by what some of the matches that we've seen recently, where really there wasn't much going on in the final third, like against Girona. And this time around, probably the one criticism I would still have for us in that final third play was the same one I had against Girona, which is that we didn't see very good service into the box. The final ball quite often was a bit off. It wasn't where it was supposed to be played, or wasn't with the right amount of pace, or it was played a bit too deep, that kind of thing. It was it's almost like the attack in some way is still trying to recalibrate and get back on track, on track to where we were before the World Cup break, because we did get quite a few 4-0s here and there, and we were definitely playing well going forward. Aside from all of that, I would probably, if I had done negatives and positives, obviously what I've just said, the whole winning thing would have been a positive. What would have been one of my negatives is probably the fact that we need to stop struggling at the end of matches. We need to stop finishing matches heavily under pressure and on the back foot. Considering the fact that Xavi Hernandez is our coach, and the kind of footballer that Xavi Hernandez was, it would be nice to see us exert a little bit more of control on matches towards the end, because when we're on top and when we're scoring the goals and all that kind of stuff, we are quite easily very dominant, right? We snuff out opposition counter presses or counter attacks and all that kind of stuff. We keep the opposition pinned back and we keep the ball away from them. But the moment that we get that lead, and I guess maybe we get comfortable somehow, and we just start letting the opposition come onto us. And look, in as much as our defense has proved to be pretty sturdy this season, only 7 goals conceded, it's still not a position you want to be putting yourselves in, because it only takes just one slip up, one misjudgment like we saw today on the Kounde own goal. That's all it takes for you to concede. And just imagine if that had been at 1-0, then would have easily dropped 2 points here, and would be thinking about Real Madrid closing the gap on us. So that's probably the biggest thing that I would bring out here as a negative for FC Barcelona is that we need to exert more control over matches and just generally to not end games on the back foot, but to end games as strongly as we start them. And I know that's very difficult because our players do a lot of running. If you saw Gavi and Pedri in particular in that match, did quite a lot of running, and obviously that gets tiring and you're not going to be able to run that much towards the end. But that's probably where Xavi needs to be a little bit more smart with his substitutions. For instance, I do not understand why he would put on both Ansu Fati and Ferran Torres in a game which just requires you to control it in order to see it out, right? You need those four midfielders there. So probably instead of Ferran or instead of Fati, you should have just put on Kessie. And then, if you really want to throw in Fati or Ferran, you could have thrown one of them on. I don't really think that Ferran needed to play here. He's been out for a while. You could bring him into the next game or something like that. The kudos I should probably say to Frank Kessie, because when he did come on, things did settle down significantly more than they were before. Of course, in part because, like I said, Pedri had done a lot of running and he was tired. And when Kessie came on, that increased physicality on top of just being able to run more made quite a big difference. But in as far as having both Fati and Ferran on the pitch, I thought that it made Barcelona a lot more weak defensively, and you could even make a case to say that the goal comes from the fact that there is less security, there's less support for Balde coming from the midfield, and that's how Sabali is able to cross the ball into Barcelona's box almost completely unchallenged. Obviously, like I usually do with match reviews, I will give a rating because I don't need to script to be able to give a rating. It just comes from my head. I just literally pluck it out of my head based on my feelings and based on, of course, the eye test and looking at the stats and how the team performed. And in that case, I think that FC Barcelona in this game were easily an 8 out of 10 performance by the team. I think that in as much as, of course, there were moments where they did struggle, which I don't know if maybe that's something we should just get used to, that FC Barcelona will be struggling towards the end, which isn't too comforting considering the fact that we're still playing teams like Man United that are like on a high when it comes to scoring goals, and later on Real Madrid and so on and so forth. So you don't want to be ending games in that kind of way. But that is perhaps a discussion for another day. For today, I'm saying that it's an 8 out of 10 rating for the team. And as for Xavi Hernandez, his team probably didn't have much control in this game as he would have wanted. But having said that, there was a clear change in the team from the first half to the second half. Barca controlled the second half a lot more, and you'd like to think that was due to the players responding more to something Xavi told them during the break, right? Alejandro Balde in particular, his first half was not too good, but his second half was quite impressive. Like, just the assist aside, during the second half he kept tabs on Luis Enrique, which I thought was pretty impressive because that boy can ball, to be honest. He can play. He looks like a very, very good winger. Nice addition by Real Betis. But because of that, because of Xavi's, halftime team motivation, which I think got the team playing better and eventually led to Barcelona scoring and winning the game, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 rather than the 6 out of 10 that I was initially going to give him. Okay, so now that that's said, I think I'm just supposed to give a man of the match. And for this one, I had Alejandro Balde, actually, just like La Liga did in this case. Is one of the few occasions where I'm in agreement with the man of the match that was officially picked by La Liga. And it was Alejandro Balde. Like I said, his first half performance, it did look a bit shaky, and you were a bit worried, especially against Enrique, like I had said, because he was looking pretty dangerous. But Balde recovered in the second half. He almost like had a hard reset, and he was just doing everything that he needed to do. He was winning the ball, he was making the proper runs when he should have, and that led to, of course, the assist that he had for Raphinha's goal. So that was good to see. It was also good to see Raphinha scoring, of course. That's very good for his confidence. But yeah, aside from that, I think that is basically that. So thank you guys for tuning in once again. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I had said, it wasn't scripted, but I hope you at least were able to get some kind of, I don't know, fulfillment or enjoyment from this, or at least you killed some time listening to this while you were doing something else, right? That would be more than I would probably ask you. Anyway, thank you once again for tuning in. Do hit subscribe if you're listening on YouTube and this is the first time, and if you're listening from, Google Podcasts or Spotify, do hit that subscribe or follow button as well, and leave a review if you can. It would be nice. Leave a positive review. Really appreciate that. And if you're watching from YouTube, you can also just go ahead and drop a comment. Show your brother some love. But yeah, aside from that, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day, and Forza Barca.